reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is the Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
What's up, everybody? It's the Horror Deconstruction. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, most likely on YouTube with your host, Komp and
Jovi.
And today's film is
The Amusement Park, which was made in 1975, lost for like ever, and then
it says 1973 on the trailer, though.
Does it say 19? Produced in 1973.
You heard me? It says okay.
Premiered at a film festival in 1975.
Okay, so it was produced in 1973.
And then updated for 2019.
So, The Amusement Park, 1975. An elderly gentleman goes for what he assumes will be an ordinary day at the amusement park, only to find himself in the middle of a hellish nightmare. Directed by George Romero, written by Walton Cook, starring Lincoln Mizell, Harry Albacker, and Phyllis Castweiler. Danny, why? Why did you pick the amusement park?
I don't think it's horror because it's Romero.
No, it is. I think it is horror. But here's the thing. I remember seeing. There was a movie that was. Who's that guy? Oh shit. The guy who did F is for Fake, and he did what was that movie? The movie that they always say is the greatest movie of all time. The guy saying Rosebud. I don't know why I'm not fucking thinking the name of the movie.
I know what you're referring to, but
why? Okay, let me just look up. Go talk about the movie for a second.
I'm looking at it. Hold on.
Anyway,
Anyway,
you say something.
Okay, I'm saying things. Let me say some more things about the amusement park.
Go ahead.
For example,
where you can find
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane, and that what's the name of the director of Citizen Kane?
Oh, fucking asshole. Hold on. Orson Welles.
Orson Welles. So Orson Welles had a movie that was unfinished for 40 or 30 years that they compiled and edited together, and they put it on Netflix, and I can't think of the name of that movie, but it took them a long time, and they were like, oh, this is one of the selling points for Netflix, that they have money to kind of throw around, and although now Netflix says they won't give directors like a whole bunch of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars to make movies anymore, like Scorsese did with the Irishman and stuff like that. So they did that with Orson Welles movie, and I think that's what Shudder did with this. I'm sure it was a lot cheaper to get this George A. Romero movie put together and restored, because I had heard about it. I didn't know what the movie was about. The poster's actually very cool for this movie.
The poster is part of why I chose.
I would have rather looked at the poster for 52 minutes than actually watched this movie, because it's like a man.
You didn't like the movie at all?
It's all right, and so it's like the guy's face is cut, like where his eyes should be is like a carousel, and there's like all this blood on it, which is not lying. There's no guy who has a carousel put in his head in this movie, but I feel like it was so funny because I feel bad for old people. I'm gonna be an old guy. Danny's gonna be an old guy one day.
Yeah.
I feel bad for old. I feel bad for like old people that are like. They're not remembered. That's gonna happen to me. I know that for sure because I'm a loner, and so I'm gonna die alone. It's gonna be sad for me too.
I'll visit you in the nursing home, and I'll be like, "Hey."
Yes. So watching this, because I have visited, like when I had to visit relatives at a not a nursing home, but almost like I guess one of those facilities where old people are, and it's just a whole house, like the whole area smells like urine, and there's like these old people crying for people that are not there, like they want relatives to see them, and they're just like they're basically going old, like sucks. It's like Midsummer had the right idea, you know, when you just jump off a cliff and die. Just make sure you just fall on your head.
Make sure you don't have the hammer,
and not on your leg. Yeah, make sure you don't fall on your legs like that one guy does in Midsummer. Like,
why was he thinking to jump that way? Jump head first. You want
sometimes
your head
you can't.
To
yeah, I know.
rock.
Sometimes you can't control.
No, but you can control it. In skydiving, if you make your body like a banana, you'll right yourself.
Wow! Now I can finally bring up something that I saw. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen on the internet, Danny. There was this guy.
Scared.
Okay, like, I don't know if they're called ballasts or whatever. In front of buildings when they put these like little like poles up so like a car can't drive into them. Okay, so there was a clip, and you see it's outside of this building. It's like CCTV, black and white.
I'm dreading
listen to me, Danny. This guy wanted to jump off the roof to kill himself.
Oh no.
He fell ass first onto it.
Ooh.
And it's on video. It went up his ass and out of his shoulder, and he actually survived, but he died like a couple hours later. Danny, it's not funny. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. The guy jumps off, and you just see a guy sort of appear out of nowhere.
Too, they're like as thick as your leg.
Yes, and it went up his like bottom half and out of his shoulder. And you just see a guy. It looks like a guy appears out of thin air, and he just is like part of the fucking like whatever that is on the floor. So yes, that's you can find it online somewhere. It's really disturbing.
I think I'm not gonna.
And then I saw the photo of him in the hospital, and it was just like, oh my Christ, like what a way to go. Like can you imagine the luck of like falling that, like after you're trying to kill yourself, and he fell ass first or something. Anyway,
I mean, I would do several things to prevent that from happening. I'd be like slicing my neck open as I was falling,
or shooting yourself in the head
and
while you're falling.
Injecting heroin in my leg or something like that.
That's gotta be a long fall. Anyway, so back to this movie. I don't know how we got onto that, but so the amusement park is not even actually like a standard film. It was actually by a Lutheran organization.
It seemed like an ad at the beginning.
It is. That's what it is. It's essentially like a Sunday school film. Like when you watch movies about like safety. There's like a famous safety video online where these guys would show you not to fuck around at work. It's like, so if you're not paying attention when you're driving your forklift,
those videos.
Yeah, and it's disturbing because they put like gore in it, and it's just like, geez. But with this is what that it's about. But it's about like treating elderly people like shit. And guess what? Life hasn't changed because all these elderly people are still being fucked now in life, and paying certain things. But this is like obviously clearly George Romero collecting a check. I bet you George Romero would have said, well, like if he was alive.
I think they did a good job for it.
No, I know it's over the top, but there's a reason probably why it's missing. George Romero probably didn't give a flying fuck about this movie because he went on to do Nightmare on Elm Street. He went to do Night of the Living Dead. Could you imagine? He made
before Night of the Living Dead? No way.
No, he did it after, I guess. But like, I'm gonna, now that I think about it, why? Now I think about it, why he probably did this because Night of the Living Dead, he fucked up copywriting it, so he never made money off of it, and Night of the Living Dead became free for everybody to reuse. Yeah. That's why you see Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead is 1968.
That's why you see Night of the Living Dead in so many movies. When people are watching a horror movie, it's always like Night of the Living Dead. You must think like, damn, George Romero must have got some cash for that. He did not. He didn't have the rights.
I'm sure he did well for himself, though.
I'm sure he did fine, but like, I was never out to go see like the only George Romero movies I like. I guess Night of the Living Dead. I like that. I liked Creep Show a lot.
The only Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. Come on.
Yeah, I like Dawn of the Dead. I never saw Day of the Dead. I guess I do like some George Romero movies, but I saw a movie that that stuck with me that was called Diary of the Dead, which was a found footage. And hopefully we'll never see that movie. It's a found footage zombie movie. It's unbelievable how bad that movie is. It's like, what the fuck happened? And if you want to hear my thoughts about it, just watch the Angry Video Game Nerd reviewer about that movie. There's a scene in that movie. I don't want to do that movie, but the movie is about a person cutting together the footage they did of their exploit of seeing zombies attack so that we're taking this footage like if us recording our own friends getting killed and shit, and he puts dramatic music on it. Danny, would you put dramatic music of your friends getting killed? It's just like a snuff music, it's like it's like a snuff movie.
But like circus music or something.
But anyway, back to this movie, and also I saw Bruiser, which was like a weird movie, which was okay but kind of stupid. But back to this movie, it's a public, what do they call it? A public announcement sort of thing.
A public warning or announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about like you treating your elders better, but like you just see massively bad things happen to these old people. It starts out with an old man.
But I mean, the metaphor was a little like fucking heavy-handed.
It's so it was like really heavy-handed. But the movie starts out. It's almost like it almost feels like an amateur movie. Like it feels like a first movie. Do you know what I mean? Like a first movie that you find. But I'm sure the writers did it. I'm sure the writers were like, listen, this is what we wanted. George Romero was just collecting a check. Do you know what I mean? Because he was like, okay, you want this? You want such and such? You want... It was so funny because you could tell it's like amateurish because there's a part where the guy's like...
There are points I didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand why that like guy punched him after getting the psychic reading and stuff like that.
It's a movie about elder abuse. Like the guy in the future saw himself dying in bed while his wife is like dying on the stairwell, and he gets so pissed off he punches an old man. So I think that was supposed to be like people that are afraid of the future and afraid of being old themselves, so they try to reject it. I assume because like if I saw something where I saw myself like when I'm 80 years old or 70 years old, fucked up, I'd be like, Jesus Christ, and I'd be like nice to an old person.
Well, I'd wait till I was 60 and then I'd kill myself.
Exactly. But yeah, so this movie is about like just negligent treatment of the elderly, and obviously it's like a check. This was just like money for this guy to he was just making ends meet, I think, George Romero, because this is nothing like Creepshow. This is nothing like any of the other movies they did that were actually.
That's true. It isn't.
This looks like a fuck around movie. You know what I mean? Like they just fucked around because obviously it isn't even like it's put together well. Like they had to put this all together and think. I think he just shot and said, "I'm not editing this shit. You take it. I don't care about this. I just made my money." You know what I mean? Because obviously I don't think he gave a fuck about this. I don't think he cared. Like this is me just supposing. I don't know what George Romero's about. He seemed like a nice guy. You know what I mean? He kickstarted a very important genre that you can watch in The Walking Dead. 50 years. It feels like The Walking Dead started right after that movie. But so let's see. An organization called the Lutheran Society hired George A. Romero to create a movie about elder abuse and the importance of showing respect to older people. When Romero presented the society with his surreal and frightening take on the subject, they were so shocked and horrified by what they saw, they hid the film and never showed it to anyone. So I guess he did put some effort into this. It would be 45 years before the film would be seen again. So there you go. So I don't know. You go and you pick the guy who did, I assume, Night of the Living Dead was a hit by then. It was 68, right?
Yeah.
And this is 75.
Yeah,
so they were like, oh, let's pick George Romero to make, I guess, a creepy, realistic look at elder abuse. And he made a fucking surreal, like, movie about an amusement park where old people are just treated like shit. But it's a maddening film, and it's a very sad film. It's a depressing film. This is a very depressing movie.
It is very depressing.
And I'll tell you this, how dumb I was. I didn't even know that was the same actor at the beginning of the movie. The guy talking to himself.
It took me a moment to put it together.
Because the guy's sitting down.
I didn't realize it
The guy's like, the makeup on the guy's not even that good. His hair's messed up. And they thought they were two fucking different actors. That's how it's just like, this is the first beginning of the movie. Usually you have your wits together at the beginning of a movie, and then you don't know by the end of it.
That guy's just stuck in an endless loop of suffering.
Right. Because at the beginning you have a guy.
Is that like a metaphor for like Alzheimer's or something? I don't know.
Could be. Maybe you're putting me. Yeah, I'm sure George will be like, yeah. That's exactly what it is. But the movie starts out with like this actor giving you, a big monologue about don't treating people like shit. And I was like, what is this here for? I guess that, it's supposed to be like for a stupid
I thought it was part of the movie.
I think they made them actually shoot. They made him shoot that after they saw the film. They made him shoot that so it's much clearer, as opposed to it just being some sort of surreal, weird horror movie. I think they should have just cut that shit out, honestly, if that wasn't his like original vision. So yeah, it starts out with this actor talking about basically what the movie's going to be about. Like, if I guess the bikers were an epidemic back then too, in the 70s, because
one of those bikers looks exactly like one of my friends who is a biker.
That was the funny part. The three bikers coming in.
He looks like so much like him. It's really weird.
You just know in the 70s when you were alone and then you saw a couple of bikers, like, oh shit, I'm fucked now. Because they would just like, it came out with like, it was stuff like you see in Final Fight or like arcade games. Like the guys had chains and they were kicking his ass. And I was like, wow, I thought that was only in video games that happened. And like,
and this movie.
It was and it was so funny because like I was saying before, it's a little bit amateurish. There's a part where the old man is like, I don't know what happened, but he was sort of fucked up, like in a daze, walking around. And the same people, like, you could tell they only had like maybe 30 people to work with as a crowd, or 10 or 15 people, because they told those people to walk from one side of the camera to the other, and they're still wearing the same clothes. So, which is still a little bit nightmarish. But I'd see the same woman with the same dress, and you see her looking off screen at the director. You see her walk. I saw her walk by 4 times, and I was like, "Wait a minute," because I was like, "Wow, this is a pretty impressive."
Well, also,
amount of
if
people
you listen in the background,
but
I'm sure this was intentional, you will hear the same loop of.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it.
Of sound. There was I can't remember what it is. I watched it like a week ago, but like There's like a sound like, all right, guys, step on up, or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
one
right.
of the ticket people, and you kept hearing it like over and over.
Like they
for,
remixed it over
probably
and
20
over.
minutes.
And it was funny because the actor in this lived up to 106. So I wonder if he had
Okay.
I hope he had like a fine life. Like 106, that doesn't sound like too much fun, unless
Well,
you're
I
one
mean,
of
when
those
you have a
youthful-
lot of money, I'm sure he did.
There's
like,
video online of like a monk who's about the same age, like 105, and I'm telling you, Danny, he looks like a skeleton. Like he looks like in the
Yeah.
background of Mortal Kombat when they have like the dead monks. He looks like that, and you see him just sort of like he's playing with his niece. I wouldn't like. I guess that niece won't be afraid of skeletons when they're in the future. You know what I mean?
Right.
That reminds me of. Did you ever see Scary Movie 2? Like it's not a good movie, but there's some
I'm
funny.
picturing the in Breath of the Wild, the Zelda video game. There's like these monk things that are basically
Right,
skeletons,
that's what they look like.
and they come to life and give you a little thing.
There's a
inside.
funny scene in Scary Movie 2 where Cindy, who's like the main character, is running away from like a living skeleton, and Brenda, who's like the funny girl, she's like she don't know what's chasing them, and she sees that it's a skeleton. She goes, "Why are you afraid of a skeleton?" She's like, "Would you run away from Callista Flockhart?" That's like a very dated joke. Callista Flockhart is a very skinny woman, and it's basically, why would you be afraid of a skeleton? Because why are people afraid of skeletons if
You
they
just
chase
hit
them?
it.
I guess the idea of a skeleton running after you is pretty scary, but you can just kick its ass, and that's what she does in the movie. Anyway, so yeah, this is
Unless it has a knife or something.
that's true. Like if it was a skeleton of a pirate, I'd be scared.
I mean, like Army of Darkness, those skeletons had like swords.
Well, yeah, that's what you run when they got weapons, because the weapons, it's you don't know what's going on. The film was shot on 16mm film stock at the now defunct Westview. Who gives a rat's ass? Lincoln Mazel would later be cast in Romero's film Martin, a movie that people like. Martin is about like a vampire, or a guy who thinks he's a vampire, who drinks blood and stuff like that. They try to remake
That's
it.
like that movie Thirst.
Right. Throughout the movie, there
And
are many.
also that other one we saw with the kid that gets drug dealers to like kill some other guy.
Transfiguration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Go watch Transfiguration. That's a fabulous movie. Throughout the movie, there are many scenes where the background music was used from 1978 movie Dawn of the Dead. Okay, George Romero shows up in 15 minutes of film. He's running the car track. Okay, digitalized in 4K in 2020 from 16mm.
The car accident scene was pretty funny to me.
What happened there? I kind of forgot.
They're on the bumper cars, and somebody
So-
makes a wrong turn and hits
It is-
and then a
this is-
police officer comes.
This is a bizarre film because these people weren't actors. I think they were just like, I think they were part of that Lutheran society. Like he just had to hire them and put them in it. Because you can tell a lot of these people, except for the main guy, I think nobody else was an actor in this movie. So you see, like the part where the lady, and I'll give him credit that I thought that it was very realistic, because the lady was like, "Oh, he signaled left, but then he made a right," and then it sounded like real people like complaining. Like George Romero was like, "You know what you're
Yeah.
gonna do? You're gonna just complain that this guy didn't make his left when he made his supposed to make
Just
a right."
act like yourself, complain like a dumb asshole.
And this is what he did. Oh, you saw it, right? But he's wearing glasses. He needed glasses to do that. Oh, and it's just like real old people. So it's that very 70s sort of realistic. Like I guess people in the 70s sounded more like film people than people would now. But I guess the acting is decent for what it was. Like the part where the guy's dying on his bed and his wife is going on up and down the staircase trying to find the doctor, and the doctor's like some cool 70s guy dealing with people in the hospital.
That scene was frustrating.
I know, and it seems it's very realistic. So there's a whole bunch of shit going on. There's like these blatant signs.
The rich guy eating at the thing. And
That
then he
was
gives
so
his food
funny
to-
where they had to like lift him up and change his like where his seating because he didn't want to deal with these scumbags. And then you see these old people. They like digging with their fingers in like to eat the food and stuff like that. At the
Yeah.
part when he sits down and he buys a whole bunch of groceries, I was like, well, that's a lot of groceries for a couple of tickets. Like this guy's doing pretty good. And he sits down and he has to eat a box of premium crackers, which they have not changed. I clearly can tell they have not changed the design of that box since the 70s.
It's the same, yeah.
It's the same exact box. And I was like, is this motherfucker eating crackers by themselves? I remember doing that as a kid, but then he was eating it with peanut butter. And then I guess he was trying to offer it to the kids. some guy thought he was a pedophile and he threatens him. That was the funniest part of the
just
movie.
all around sad.
Yeah,
he
it's
can't catch a break. And when he finally does, it was really depressing with the little girl. Remember? Oh
yeah, it's the part when he's trying to. I was kind of like checking out by then, but that's the part when he was trying to read the book to her. Right? It was the Three Little Pigs or some. Book like that.
But then they had to go, and like he didn't want them to go. It's so depressing.
Yeah. So I guess that's I guess that's probably like family when they bring the grandchildren over and they say, okay, we got to go. That's supposed to be representing that, and he starts crying and he has a break. I thought that was cool. Like I thought that was really well done, and he starts breaking down, and so it's a fucking depressing movie, and I guess it gets its point across. But I think
there's nothing happy about this movie at all.
But the thing is, people
and that pickpocket guy. Oh, I hated him.
Yeah, and the thing is, people won't care. They don't give a fuck. This is a movie, and once the movie's over, then they'll go and not give a fuck about their old family members. That's just how it is. That's just how life is. It's horrible shit unless you're like in an Asian country. You know what I mean? Then they mostly care about them sometimes.
Oh, they take care of
the elders, sometimes like in Japan when like really sad stories where they can't take of an elderly relative, so they like pick them up and then they just drop them and leave them in the street for them to die. So that does happen. It's very sad. Like what happens to old people is sad. So basically what we're saying is don't get old, people. That's it. Life stinks. What rating would you give The Amusement Park 2021 or 1975, I guess?
I guess I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. You should have listened to the bloody version of. You should have realized that was the bloody version of yourself and listened to him.
I think he might have been a closet case. He should have just had a hot old gay sex with himself, incestuous, and then he would.
That would have been.
They would have been in that white room by themselves, going, "Oh, oh, Harold," like to himself.
How cool would that be?
That'd be a better movie.
Spend your elderly years doing that.
Yeah, just blow. Remember, they say that in elderly homes, they have the most accounts of sexually transmitted diseases because it's old people that are horny trying to fuck each other. What else you got to do?
But then you don't listen to yourself, and instead you get to go out and get beat up by video game bikers and pickpocketed and abandoned by children, and it's a fun time.
Yeah, I'd give this movie like a 4 out of 10.
4?
You saw the movie, right, Danny? Am I going crazy? All right, 5 out of 10.
I give it.
Sheesh. I'm glad that it was 54 minutes. So it's a 5 out of 10 trying to sensuously offer premium crackers with peanut butter to children and then being thought of in a bad way. And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
George Romero.